creating our net for our energy bar. We're going to be looking at how we work with layers and how we can manually enter dimensions for shapes. Now remember, we're working towards this idea of creating our own net for an energy bar. So let's go into Vectr. Let's move this out of the way. So this is you're going to create your version of this ultimately. First thing I need, I'm going to create my net. So very simple, I just need some basic rectangles for this. So click on the rectangle tool. Okay, I'm going to drag a rectangle out. Now first thing, I don't want a pink rectangle. I either want that to be white, you've got a choice here. You can have it as white. Now you can click up in this top right hand corner here, or we can actually go white is a whole load of F's together, and that should, oh, wrong one. Let's just click up here. You can, if you work out the internet colors, you can use those here as well. Okay, now, oh, a bit too grey. Now remember, if you're adjusting the color of something, you need to have it selected at the same time. Mistake I made there. Okay, so I've got my rectangle here. I want the border on. Now remember, it's set at blue, but it's not turned on. So I'm going to click here, turn it on, and I want the border size. I'm going to put that, ooh, that's gone to some very peculiar settings. So we're going to come to that actually. Now, set the border color to black, that's on. Now what I can do down here, you see these dimension boxes down here, I control these. Now at the moment, they are set in inches. Quite often it will come up in pixels. What we need to do is go up here to the file settings and change it from inches to millimeters. You could go with centimeters, but in design, once you leave school and you work in an industrial situation, whether that's on a construction site or in an engineering firm, you are not going to use centimeters anymore. You're going to work in millimeters or meters. So if you can get out of the habit of centimeters now, that would be great. So I'm going to select millimeters. Now I'm going to say I want some nice round numbers. So I'm going to go with 140 wide by, let's go 40 deep. Okay, so there I've got that. Now, it's also turned the shadow on, so I'm going to turn the shadowing effect off. And I've got, now I can just control that border width to 1 millimeter. Now that's quite chunky, so I can work in decimals here as well. So I can go to 0.5 of a millimeter thick as well. Okay, now this square and this square are exactly the same. There is no need for me to go through that process again. Keyboard shortcuts, I can just Control or Command C and Control or Command V and create another one of those. Now I've got 2 of those. Now I need a part here. So I'm going to create another one of these, and this time I'm going to create another one, put it where I want it. Now it's only one dimension of this I'm going to change, so I'm just going to change here this dimension to 20. Oh, wrong way around. One of the things that Vectr doesn't seem to understand, but Illustrator does, and we need to unlock the ratios there as well. So one of the things that Illustrator understands and Vectr doesn't seem to understand is as you rotate things, it gets confused about what's the width and what's the height. And also this toggle here locks the aspect ratio. So if that's on, this will automatically get wide and high. So if I'm stretching an image or a picture, something like the recycle logo here, I want that locked so I don't end up stretching or squidging shapes. But in this case, I want that unlocked. So that way I can drag this out to match that. And now I want this. I'm just going to drag it up, and there we go. I've got it locked to 20 millimeters, and I could have either done that way, or I can just directly enter the information here. Again, I want 2 of those, so I can drag another one of those. I can pop that up there. Now remember, there are different ways of laying nets out. You don't have to do it exactly the way we do. Now for these 2 here, this distance from here to here is the same as that distance from there to there. So a quick shortcut, if you know what your dimensions are, you can enter them, but I can copy and paste this. I can hover around until I get the rotate option here. Now as I rotate, if I hold shift down on the keyboard, you can see it sort of locks to certain angles. So holding shift down, rotate that round. Now before I move, oh, up here a bit, stretch it down. So I'm only changing one dimension of this. Now you can see mine's ever such a little bit out. That's absolutely fine. I would spend some time putting that right later. Move another one over here and just pop that in place there. Now, the tabs are quite easy to draw in. You've got to work out where your tabs are going, but I'm just going to use the line tool for those. So I'm going to use the pen tool, and I'm just going to go click, 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 and click. And again, you've got, and to get out of this, remember, if I want to stop drawing, escape. Now, I can, once I've got one of these straight, I can copy and paste that the whole way around. So I can, wrong thing. Remember, if we make mistakes, rather than putting things back exactly where they are, get used to using the Command Z tool. And remember as well, we have these flip tools as well. So flip vertical, there it goes. Now I want to copy that one. Now, this is getting quite annoying that I keep on grabbing the back of my net and moving that around, and that's going to become increasingly annoying when I come to put my logo onto it. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to select this, and I want to lock this. Now in Illustrator you set up different layers, and a lot of bits of software you set up different layers. The way this recognizes this is each one of these, as I click here, you'll see it comes up over here. Now, if you can just see, there's a little, I can make it invisible so I can't see it. It's still there, I just can't see it. So if I wanted to hide it out of the way for a while, but I want it there. So what I can do is lock that. So that little padlock stays on, and that means I can't actually do anything with that now. So that's just locked. So if I select the whole area like this, I accidentally selected that one up there. So I'm just going to do that again. And now I can lock, you can see this is my selection here. And I can just go through and lock the whole lot. So now I can't move this at all. Now, I am going to bring in my mountain that I designed in my last lesson. So just select both bits of this. And we can just basically start adding our bits to this. I'm actually just going to drag this one down because we've got a problem here. We've covered this before, that started to go behind. So we can see we've got two different shapes here. We've got this with no fill. So this is one solution to things being hidden behind, but it may well be that you want to give your net some color. So I have an actual background color to it. I'm going to bring this down as well. And I'm just going to join those two objects as well. So to join them, I'm just going to right click on them and just group them together. So that'll act as one object. And I want to bring that to the front. Now I can use these options here, send to the front, but this will send it one layer at a time. One of the quicker ways you can do this, you can see, so that right now is there. That's where it is in the order of things, this being the top up here. So each time I click on this, it's going to move it. It's slowly moving it up the line on the left. Now this can take quite a while. So my other solution here is just to move this up to the top of the pile like that. And that is now on the front. Remember, one of the great things about vector graphics, I can just carry on scaling these around until I've got the shapes I want. Okay, so that's all we're going to cover in this part. Remember, we've looked at how we can control the order of things by either dragging it along here, or I can control the order here. I've got the option, I've locked my net here by using the padlock tools here, and I'm just going to unlock these as well. And the reason I did that is so I don't keep moving around. I don't accident when I want to move this, I'm not grabbing this all the time and moving it. Now, the other thing we looked at was how I could manually enter the dimensions of this. For the first ones you're doing now, it doesn't matter too much on the size of these things, but when we do this in the class, we're going to give you an actual specific size that you need to make this net to. Okay, good luck with that. Set your net up, start adding your logo designs to it, and then the next few lessons we're going to go through how we add these things here and a few more quick ideas on how we can create logos as well.